Greetings and salutations. You are watching Pop Goes VR. My name is Danthol. I'm here with my co-host Ryan. How's it going, Ryan?
I'm good, Danthol. Like I said, I always say the same thing. Life is hectic, but it's actually been pretty chill. I've had the last 5 days to myself. A little bit of work, but for the most part, my wife and kid are out camping, and I decided to stay home because I'm not much of a camper anymore. So it's been 5 days to myself, and it's been kind of glorious. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Are you sure everything's okay? It sounds like a euphemism. My wife and kids are out camping, and I'm here home alone. Like they can either be buried in the basement or they can actually, they could have left you for your drug abuse problem. Is everything okay, Ryan?
They come home tomorrow, so I don't need an alibi just yet, but I'll hit you up if I need one.
It sounds like a euphemism. Good. Yeah, I'm here. You're in Canada where things are relatively safe, where kids and wives are going camping. Did they take the family dog with them?
They did, yeah.
You have a family dog?
Dogs. Yeah, they took our family dogs.
They took the family dog
yeah.
with you. Dogs. Nice. And I'm here in America, where every day is a record-breaking day for coronavirus infections. So that's fun, too. Canada, America. It is a international virtual reality podcast in virtual reality. Today, we are going to be discussing Ready Player One, the movie.
Dun, dun, dun.
And last episode was the book, and now we're going to talk about the movie and how it's different than the book. And it's like, oh, they made it different than the book. We'll try not to do that and review this on its own merits instead of complaining. That's a lie. We're going to complain the whole time. So tell us about Ready Player One, the movie, Ryan. Give us some facts about it.
Here's the movie synopsis. Like, say, if you watched the last episode, we did the exact same thing for the book. So the movie, it takes place in 2045, when much of humanity uses the virtual reality software Oasis, the ontologically anthropocentric sensory immersive simulation, to escape the desolation of the real world. Orphan teenager Wade Watts finds clues to a hidden game that promises Oasis's ownership to the winner, and he and 4 allies try to complete it before a corporation run by a businessman, Nolan Sorrento, can do so. And yeah, it covers the very broad stroke bullet points from the book, but takes tons of liberties. This has been directed by Steven Spielberg. Tons of homages to film and game, but it came out 2 years ago now. And I want to get into the meat and bones of this thing because we don't have much time. What do you got to say about this thing before we just start tearing it apart?
And to be specific, we don't have much time because the cameras overheat after 20 minutes. That's why the episodes are formatted at this length instead of other lengths. 20 minutes is the life of the camera. Like I said, we need sponsors. I'd be completely happy to, at the beginning of the show, put, PopGoesVR brought to you by Views and have some free cameras from them. I got to send them an email. I'll use this episode as a thing that says, hey, look, I said that. Please sponsor us. Give us money to help us grow this show and do some things with virtual reality. Yeah, Ready Player One, the movie. This was a big deal that the book was being translated into a movie because I love the book long before I even knew there was going to be a movie coming out. I think. Maybe they had already started talking about it, and that's why they are giving out the free book and starting to promote it so they can promote the movie. Either way, it was a big deal to learn that the Ready Player One is going to be turned into a movie and relatively fast-tracked. It is a special effects extravaganza more than it is anything else. This is a vehicle to show what you can do with computer graphics today. Half the movie is literally all computer generated stuff. The Wade Watts that you're seeing, there's is a digital version of him, his avatar. So they pull from a lot of tropes when it comes to stuff like that for filmmaking, and it's more of a vehicle for special effects and explosions and actions and guns and fighting and swearing and kissing, and it's a movie. It's a Hollywood movie. It is what it is. It's not the book.
Exactly. It's a Hollywood movie. Like I said, it does use the bullet points, like I said, from the book, but it changes everything. I mean, the fact, the holidays Easter egg, find these 3 clues to unlock these 3 gates to get to the end. That's all still here, but now if you find a key, you automatically get the gate. So where in the book you had to find 6 things, in the movie you have to find 3. In the book, Wade Watts was on his own. I mean, how the movie starts off, it's the same thing. Wade Watts, Parzival, is his avatar name. He's on his own. He's competing in the first challenge, which is a race. Unlike the first challenge in the book, which was something completely different. And you can see kind of where Steven Spielberg, I think, wasn't really familiar with gaming medium, at least like historically. He's been a proponent of gaming in the past. He says he's gamed, but I think you can see where the changes were made to promote film and cinema over video game histories. I mean, until the last challenge, it's really almost all cinema. I mean, Parzival, he's his own custom dude. All the main characters, they're their own custom avatars, but everybody else around them is a borrowed avatar. Whether you're a Battletoad or the Master Chief or a Marvel, a DC character, you can see where obviously they got licenses from Warner Brothers and certain studios for certain rights for certain things. But it's very much way more about the cinema than about the gaming, which I think kind of missed the mark for me. And like I said, and it doesn't take you, I'll let you talk here in a second, but like I said, the first game, one person wins this thing. That's the whole thing. One person can win this. Every person has to find their own key, and then find their own gate. And it doesn't take too long before it just starts throwing away that narrative, and there seem to be sharing keys, and the gates are right. It's just, I don't know, it falls apart when compared to the book. It's a fine movie on its own, but it doesn't quite utilize the characters as well as I would like.
Yeah.
Talk, Danthol, talk.
Yeah, and you're right about they focused on movie culture, and they took some things. The 3 challenges in the book. The first challenge involved a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and then having to play a classic arcade game, Joust. And then the second challenge, more video game stuff. It was, you had to go to the planet Zork and blow the whistle to get the Jade key. So there was classic video game culture as well as movie and other hacker culture in there. And then the final challenge having to use, the power of friendship and togetherness with Schoolhouse Rock and Rush. And the Rush album that was, all of that kind of stuff was there. All of geek culture was in the book, and none of that moved into the movie portion of it. The only thing they did that was the same was the Adventure, the Atari 2600 game Adventure, used with joystick controller. That was there, but that was like the whole point of Ready Player One, and the Easter egg is this game has the first Easter egg. So it's like the most obvious thing in the world. Anybody who's a gamer who knows that you should be getting the Easter egg to do that. Every gunter should know that the final challenge is going to be Adventure, and the Easter egg, or at least is going to be in there. They eliminated so much of that arcade video game culture that upset me. The tiny little things they had in there were like, some video games, arcade stuff in the background and everything. But even then, it's like, I don't know. They treated this the same way they treated like Wreck-It Ralph. With the pop culture and the things like that, is put things that are recognizable. Oh, look, there's Freddy Krueger. Oh, look, it's Chucky. Ha ha ha. I don't. They did. They over specialized on the culture of movies over the culture of video games, which this is really about. So that's where it kind of got lost. But once again, it's a Hollywood extravaganza that's made to have explosions and all kinds of special. Ooh, this looks nice. Which is okay. I watched it again yesterday. I have the 4K Blu-ray, and I had to get all the things plugged in just right so I can watch it with sound and everything in 4K. And I was like,
I love that part at the end there. All the IOI guys, the Sixers, are all filling the final challenge because they're going through these Atari 2600 games and they're trying to find which game that you have to play to beat it. And like you said, the final game you have to play is Adventure. But like you said, the big thing with Adventure isn't the game. It was the very first time an Easter egg was ever in any video game. And
Yes.
Once one of the Sixers beats the game and their avatar dies, like, oh, it's not adventure, and it cams in on that one girl, like holiday, I can't remember her name now. The whatever, the studies all holiday stuff, and she's like,
Unthologist.
thank you, and she goes, they cam in her, and she's like this, she goes. And she rubs her chin like, wait a second, this isn't quite right. It was the most cheeseball thing. No one thinks like this. It's just like, and like you said, it's so painfully obvious what the solution was. And like I said, I don't want to like crap all over this movie. And we pretty much discussed why we don't like it. It really, like I said, it covers the broad strokes, but it misses so many vital components. It completely changes up some of the characters. Some minor things, like H being this huge kind of like cyborg orc-looking dude in the movie. In the books, his avatar is like a little white dude. And they brought up at the end, like they brought this whole race card of like, look, I didn't want to be, a black woman in gaming. I'm just not. I wouldn't get the same respect as I would as a young white dude. And it wasn't like a crazy important storyline, or like it wasn't like focused on too hard. But I appreciated that acknowledgement of truth that there is a race divide still. Whereas, and they kind of got rid of that in this one, and they made her this big giant hulking. They changed it a bit, I think, and just those little subtle changes I didn't care for. Artemis was completely rewritten. She was still a strong female lead, but in the book, she was like a super strong, independent female lead. I mean, their relationship really didn't come together till the very end of the book. And right away, like within their second encounter, they're already like googly eyeing each other. And I thought they just devolved her character into too much of a love interest over a fellow Gunter. And then the way Daito and Shoto or Sho in the movie were portrayed as well were just so like they're an aside. They were basically just there because they're in the book, but they were given no screen time except to like, you're like a ninja guy, right? All right, go be a ninja guy. Thank you for your scene. Now go away. And I wish this was an Amazon or Netflix TV show, 12 episodes, as opposed to a 2-hour film.
Yeah. The movie benefited a lot if you already read the book and are familiar with the story and everything like that. The same way Harry Potter movies do. The Harry Potter movies did very similar kind of things. I think the Harry Potter movies were a little bit more true to the book than this was. In the book, it's very dark. It's very deadly. There are horrible people that are out there other than Sorrento. The IROC character was something that was completely different in the movie than it was in the book. In the book, IROC was just kind of like an annoyance, just kind of like a jerk, a nobody. But in this, he plays this, he brings the Orb of Osiovox. And stuff like, so much of that kind of change, but you're like, fine, whatever. And Shoto doesn't even die in the movie, but he dies in the book. And that's, one of the things is like, what are they trying to do? Like, if there's a sequel movie, they're going to have to explain how that's different.
Or they'll ignore it.
I don't know.
I mean, like I said,
they won't. It's unlikely, I think, they're going to have a sequel movie until maybe he writes the third book, which I predict there's going to be a third one. And it's going to be called Player 3 Has Entered the Game. I made that prediction a long time ago.
He already said that he basically wrote the second book with a second film in mind. So I think it's very much going to be tailored to...
Did he say that?
Yeah, he basically said, how do I write this book and still keep it true to the book, but still basically make it movie ready so we can just streamline the sequel as fast as possible.
I don't want Spielberg on this one. I don't think Spielberg did a good job. Spielberg, where you're talking Jaws and E.T. and other, Close Encounters of the First Kind, all of these movies, these huge cinema, and this. I don't know. It seems like a low point on there.
Yeah, like I said, there's just weird changes. Like I said, you mentioned IROC. Like the main villain in the first movie is Sorrento and IOI. That's kind of it. Like he's like he's the Darth Vader, and everybody else is stormtroopers. In this one, we got Sorrento and IROC, and then Sorrento's assistant assassin chick who really is just like thrown in there for no good reason except for a chase scene.
Yeah.
It felt convoluted. And, like I said, we can kind of we're harshing on it, but it does some really cool things too. I mean, it really does showcase kind of the future of VR relatively good. It does take some shortcuts and some weird scenes, like in the beginning when it shows like the mom jumping over the couch. and then in VR,
Yeah.
she's like jumping over a rock wall, and it's like that makes no sense because you can't meld reality and the virtual like that because. What if it was a single player game and it room scanned your room? All right, sure, I guess that makes sense. But when you're playing a multiplayer shooter, when it shows like 20 guys running down the street, all holding VR guns and VR headsets, and then it shows those same 20 avatars fighting this massive scale war, it makes no sense. But like I said, it showed like their rigs, their headsets, their haptic suits. All that stuff is very much on point to what we're seeing today as far as how VR tech is developing. I mean, even his treadmill, which I know you have a contention with, it's all still like it feels like that tech could easily happen. I mean, I really enjoyed the tech side of it, minus those few foibles that obviously Spielberg just really wanted to have that scene of the amalgamation of reality and the virtual, but it just doesn't work. But like I said, there's some really cool stuff as far as what's possible in VR. I still think it kind of got that across, just not as well as the book.
Ultimately, I like the movie. I've seen it 3 times. Once in the theaters. I brought my wife along, and I was disappointed afterwards. And she's like, "That movie was okay." And so, from somebody who doesn't, not familiar with the lore, not familiar with it, was like, yeah, I understood what was going on. I didn't need more explanation for what it was. It is what it is. It's. Did I start with my glasses and then put them back on? I'm gonna take my glasses off. I'm like, my glasses. I like I said, I'm gonna be getting eye surgery soon, so I won't even need them. It's kind of like the Santa Claus. There's Santa Claus movies all of the time. Every couple years, there's going to be 2 or 3, Santa Claus movies that come out. And it's always the same story. Dude comes down the chimney with his reindeer and he gives presents and then he solves somebody's problem somewhere. Maybe it's his own problem or whatever. You just understand it's the story of Santa and Santa can be doing these things. So you kind of give that same kind of leverage. Yeah, it's another tech story. They took some loose base things. Wade Watts is a kid who does these things and there's internet and virtual reality. And make a movie about that, make it visual. So on its own merits, if I had never seen the book, I still would have enjoyed the movie. It's one of the better VR movies that are out there. It's not The Matrix, but, The Matrix is going to be, I think, the king of VR movies still for a while, unless Matrix 4 really ruins it. I'm sure it'll be just fine. What's Matrix 4? Matrix 4 is 2021 now, 2022?
No, 2022 now. They pushed it back.
2022. That sucks. We're going to have to wait forever to see that.
Okay, I have a question for you here before we cut this off here. So, as like I said, I agree with you. Without reading the book, I think the movie does stand on its own rather well. Being a fan of the book, like it's one of my favorite books of all time. I can't help but be a little bit harsher on the movie because of that. But I still say it is a good movie. Now, would you recommend people read the book first or watch the movie first?
I would say read the book, absolutely. The book first, of course.
First? See, I think you're better off watching the movie first because the book, in my mind, is just so much better. And like I said, because I read the book first, big gap, watched the movie, really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was really good. And then re-listened to the movie, the book again, Will Wheaton, and then rewatched the movie right after. And like right after, I was just it was bad taste in my mouth kind of thing. And like I said, obviously I'm more of a unique situation, but for myself, I think watch the movie first and then the book will give you more appreciation for both. In my personal opinion.
See, you're such a hardcore nerd when it comes to kind of stuff like that. Most people will not give something more than one kind of viewing. Then they'll move on to the next thing. They're not going to be obsessive about it like you and I. Read the book. Skip the movie. If there's going to be a kind of thing like that. If you like the book and you're like...
Oh, no, if there's one option, read the book. There's no...
But I wouldn't say, do one and do the other. Do one or the other, really. And if it's going to be one or the other, read the book. Every time. The book wins every time. Book is always better than the movie. Which is funny we should say this because there's like scenes in the movie that are about The Shining and how The Shining was a book that Stephen King wrote and then Kubrick made the movie and then Stephen King hated the movie The Shining and so therefore it was a clue of a creator who hates his creation and that's how The Shining and Kubrick and stuff like that. That's the way things are sometimes. Sometimes you totally ruin a book to make a good movie out of it. and sometimes it's mostly the other way around. It's mostly the other way around where the book is better. The Shining is one of those things that maybe the movie is better than the book. Maybe.
I agree. Danthol, I think we're done with this.
We are done with this. So my name is Danthol. You can find out more about videos that I do at watchinvr.com. Basically, just a link to YouTube. I'll come up with some other website stuff soon. There is a PopGoesVR.com, but we're not doing anything other than posting the videos on there. So go to watchinvr.com. How do we find out more about you, Ryan?
I'm the VR Grid. I run a YouTube channel. TheVRGrid.com is my website. Find me on social media, The VR Grid. I review VR games, play VR games, talk about VR. I love VR. That's why I'm doing this with you as well. So yeah, if you're looking for me, The VR Grid.
Yeah. Thank you very much for watching episode number 8. Is it 8? I think it's 8. We said it's 8. It's 8. Of the PopGoesVR, VR180 podcast thing that we talk about virtual reality stuff. There's 7 other episodes you can go watch, and if you are clever, you can find pilot episodes on our own individual YouTube channels. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
See y'all.